There are a lot of factors that go into winning fights in Warzone. Reaction time, positioning, and being able to hit your shots is the #1 reason you will win or lose a gunfight. I'm here to tell you the best settings to improve your aim on controller and start winning more gunfights. Welcome back, I'm Austin. I'm going to start by showing you the settings, then explaining them in the game. I'm going to start by talking about button layout, and the first thing you're going to want to do if you have no paddles on the back of your controller is switch from default to tactical, because normally, if you want to drop shot someone, you would have to take your thumb off the analog stick and hit the B or circle button to drop shot, meaning you wouldn't be able to aim while you're doing this, making it almost impossible to do in the middle of an engagement. Now, if you switch up to tactical, you're going to have your thumb on the right stick pushing down, meaning you're still able to aim while drop shotting. This helps the enemies miss shots and helps you hit them, helping you win more gunfights. Next up, we've got dead zones, or as I like to call it, do you need a new controller? You raise this number to fix controller drift. All it's doing is making the analog sticks less sensitive, and if you put this number above 0.1, then it's time for you to buy a new controller, because it's going to make it much harder to adjust your aim precisely. The bigger the dead zone, the more you're going to have to push the analog stick, and it's going to make you over adjust your aim. So you want to make sure that this number is not above 0.1. Next up, we got max dead zones, and these are just good on default because they don't really matter, so leave them at 0.99. Horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, this is going to be based on preference, and the higher your FOV, the higher sensitivity will feel. So if you're playing on 110 FOV, this 7 sensitivity will feel way higher than it would playing on 80. So you may need to lower this stat if you're raising your FOV ever. The key is, as long as your centering is on point, you'll be able to maximize your gunfights. You want to pick your stick sensitivities as high as they can go without affecting your centering. And all centering means is that your crosshair placement is good around the map. Obviously, if you're running into walls or doors, your sensitivity is going to be too high. I'll explain this in more detail later on in the video. And now we're going to go over to custom zoom sensitivities, which is my favorite new addition since they integrated Vanguard. The sensitivity will lower down, allowing us to be more precise. The beautiful part is this allows you to adjust based off your optic preference. The lower zoom weapon should have a higher sensitivity because the ability to snap from target to target does require you to have a much higher sensitivity up close. Your high zoom optics will generally be sniper rifles, so you want to have that lower sensitivity for precise adjustments, unless you like to quickscope a lot, but I wouldn't suggest doing that a lot in Warzone because sniping up close is a little bit too risky most of the time. I obviously settled in at 0.75 for close range and 0.65 for long range, but all of these things are going to be based off of what your base sensitivities are. And for me, since I'm at 7, I think this is a pretty good number. If you're between 6 to 10 on your horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity, I would suggest putting close range between 0.7 and 0.8, and then long range between 0.6 and 0.7. But if you're doing something crazy and have like a 12 sensitivity, then you're probably going to want to lower these down a bit more at long range. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this. But if we're going to move on to the next category, we're going to be talking about our aim response curve type. There's standard, linear, and dynamic, and all three of them are really good. I personally like dynamic the best. There's really no reason to change yours if you feel comfortable with the standard aim response curve type. But where it really affects your gameplay is going to be the aim assist type, where there's 3 things: standard, precision, and focusing. Never disable it because that would just be dumb. But okay, so I'll start with precision and focusing. These two can be a lot more powerful than standard, as in they're a lot stickier is what I think I'd say about it, as in they stick onto the enemies a little bit better. And focusing, as you can see on the right, says it's for the newbier player or newer to analog stick gameplay. There's going to be a really big bubble around the enemy where it starts to slow down your aim, whereas precision is pretty much if you're right on the player or just off of them, it will start to slow down your aim, but it goes to a halt, and that's why it's really good. But standard is going to be better than both because you get Rotational Aim Assist. And you may be thinking, what is Rotational Aim Assist? Well, have you ever noticed sometimes when you're playing and your gun is dragging to the right or the left, up or down, but you aren't actually moving your analog stick? That's what Rotational Aim Assist is. The other two will not actually drag your weapon in a certain direction. They'll just slow down your aim when you get close to the enemy. Whereas this, if you're by an enemy and they go to the right, you're just naturally going to have your gun start to go to the right and you're not doing anything. But it gives you the cue, and then you naturally will start pushing your thumb to the right. So that's why it's so much more powerful, and you got to go with standard for that Rotational Aim Assist. Don't use any of these other things, and definitely not disabled. You don't want to scale your aim assist with FOV, because what that does is it can actually be more powerful, but you have to be closer to an enemy for it to actually kick in your aim assist, meaning that your aim assist won't go out as far. So I would never enable that. And then these other settings have nothing to do with helping your aim, so I'm going to go to some in-game examples to explain to you. First thing I want to go over is dead zone, and I'm lowering it to 0.02, and then you'll see when I bring up my mini map that there's some serious drift. So that's what we're trying to avoid, and why we move our dead zones back up to 0.06. It goes away. Remember, we don't want to go above 0.1 because then the dead zone is too large and affects our micro adjustments while aiming. So make sure if you're above 0.1 to get rid of the controller drift, get a new controller. Pretty much all the centering means is where your crosshairs are placed and when you're running into a building. So if I'm approaching this building from here, I want my crosshairs placed on the window. So if anyone pops up, I'm immediately
enemy team is tracking your position.
And when you run here, you go to the stairs for your pointing point. You want to have your sensitivity as high as you can, where you can consistently have your crosshairs placed in the middle of where you're going. Whether it's a door, a stairway, or an open field, just wherever you think enemies are coming from. Like, let's say that bush is going to be an enemy. You want to be able to turn quickly and have your crosshairs centered on that bush. That way your aim is on point at the beginning, because whoever hits the first shot does win the gunfight most of the time. That's how to improve your aim in Warzone. If you want to know what the top 10 sniper support weapons are, click on this video right here. Peace.